welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Nation. For week 3 for season 2019, we have a great show for you. Actually, a little bit of a brief show, but we also have a guest that we're on. So let's get to this week. Once again, let's backtrack actually. Welcome to the show. Things have changed. You probably have noticed it now that we have our new semi-fancy little intro that you've seen on this show. And we're trying to work things up. We're trying to get this a little bit more upscale and professional and more mainstream. So with that said, I'm Eric Thurow, host of Inside the Nation. I'm also the content creator and owner and founder of Ninth Man Nation. So let's get this started. This week, episode 3, we're going to talk about the free agency that just took place this week. It is finishing things up. Some of the dust is starting to clear up and make some results of everything where everybody's going. If you check out ninthmannation.net on my website, just click on the teams, on the individual teams. I do have rosters as they're officially published and available. So just go ahead and check that out. Some teams I have not yet received their official roster yet, so I have to wait for that. And also, what else we have? Oh yeah, freaking a roster and free agency. I speak with Thyron Lewis. He's a free agent wide receiver. I had a conversation with him yesterday, and that will go on, and it was a great conversation with him. He's a great guy, and I hope to see him in an AFL jersey and in an AFL arena soon this season. So if you're part of a team, one of the 6 teams here, and you're watching this, give Thyron a call. But we'll talk more about that when we get to that segment of the show. And then to close out the show, we finally learn what Atlantic City AFL is going to be. We're going to drop the AFL and we're going to bring up what. Now, at the end of the show, I'll discuss that and what is and what's going forward. And then, of course, I'll give you their new website so you could contact them and fans there, Atlantic City's Ninth Man. You can reach out to your team. It is your team, and you don't have to go an hour to Philly. Now you have your own team to call home, and yours, and we'll find out what that team is, and I'll say some of my thoughts about the team name and the logo design and everything that I've seen. I already have that information also up on ninthmannation.net, which is our website. So with that said, let's start with the free agency. Free agency began the open of business on Monday morning, March 4th, and is finally closing up its first week. It appears to me that Albany and Philly were the 2 teams that made quick draw at it. They were out of the saddle, just blazing glory up it. Columbus did had the first transaction, and they got somebody from the Albany team from last year. Varmasoni is now going over to Columbus. As of last year, you would notice that a lot of the players basically remained where they were the previous season. So for the 2018 season, a lot of the players where they were in 2017, for the most part, stayed in the same teams, except for the fact that you had Albany, who was the rookie team that year, or the expansion team that year. So, what else happened? So this year we're getting more of a mixed play. So we got, a lot of the heart and soul of the Philadelphia Soul teams for that have players there for a repeated amount of years are now splitting. So the whole picture that it's going to be more diverse, and that's one of the great things with free agents every year, that you have your player core intact for that one season, and then the next season you don't know if they're going to be back. So anything can happen. We're basically on season 2 of that CBA, so there's 2 more years left after this season with that CBA deal in place where a player becomes a free agent. And I'm sure things will change with that CBA deal, that part of the CBA deal where players become a free agent once we get more teams into this league. I say once we could probably get at least, I would say 10 to 12 teams in this league. Then from their point, then you may have maybe players could sign 2-year contracts to start off, because in a way, in a good community relations way, and to way to build up a team is to have familiar faces for the fans to be able to relate to call their players, their own. So one of the mainstays in Philadelphia is Dan Rodaball, the Red Rocket. He is back with Philly, and James Romain's there. So they're in Dwayne Hollis. They're back. They call them the defensive core is basically intact, minus one person, Larico Stevenson. He's no longer with the team. He's with another team. So with that said, that's what's going on with the free agency. Players are signing with their main teams, but a lot of it's been mismatched, especially with the fact that this year we don't have only one expansion team. We have two expansion teams. The Atlantic City AFL team. I'm not going to say the name yet. You have to stay to the end of the show to catch the name. And then we have the Columbus team, which was named earlier too, and they're the rebranding of the Columbus Destroyers. Same logo, well, almost the same logo. The initial design of the logo is the same. The team name's the same, but the colors are not the same. The colors are going to be black, gray, and white. There was no jersey reveal for either team, and the Atlantic City colors are going to be, I could say this, they're going to be red, gold, or red, black, and a pinstripe gold. So with that said, that's what's gone on with free agency. Now let's just get right to it. I'm trying to keep these shows down to I want to try to cut it to around 45-minute mark. So I'm going to just go right to it. My conversation yesterday with Thyron Lewis, who is a free agent, like I said, wide receiver, great talent. So he's been featured on Cutter's catch of the game when he had that reception catch against the Spokane Shock to win the game for Cleveland. If you follow us on Instagram, or actually if you follow us on any of the social, I put a little teaser video out to this conversation of him making that catch. He's also been featured on ESPN. His mainstay was with the Cleveland Gladiators for most of his AFL career. He had roughly around a half a season with the sophomore team, the LA Kiss, when they were around in 2015. So the sophomore year of the Kiss there. And then he went back to Cleveland, where he finished out his AFL stop. He took a little time off from the league for some personal and some family issues, some relations, and to start, as he explains, a new chapter in his life, which he'll touch base with it in our conversation. So with that said, let me go ahead and just stop yabbering, and let's go to the conversation. Welcome to Inside the Nation, Thyron. I want to thank you for taking some time out and joining us for this week's conversation. So why don't you go ahead and tell our viewers and our listeners on podcasting platform a little bit about yourself and how you got into the arena football and heard of the AFL, first of all.
Okay, first of all, thanks for having me a part of the show. Huge fan, I follow along as much as I can. I was introduced actually to the AFL as a kid. My dad, when I was playing high school ball and getting ready to go to college, took me to an Avengers game. He was always giving me the newspaper like, hey, check this out. Hey, this is another outlet if you don't make it to the NFL, because he knew that was a goal of mine. I was always pushing for it, working hard at it. And that's how I initially got introduced to it. And then in junior college, I decided not to go straight to Division I. Had a lot of offers. I went to JUCO for one season, for 1 year, and my offensive coordinator was actually an assistant on the Avengers staff. Okay. So that's how he actually asked me to come up on one of our off days, and I went and met Brent Winters and all the coaches on the staff, and spoke with Greg Hopp a lot, Chris Jackson, and Kevin Lewis. Yeah, Russell Shaw is a good friend, a good family friend of mine. So I was always around the environment of it. I trained with Trey Rochelle and Latario Rochelle back in LA. So those are, former NFL and former AFL guys that played. So I got a lot of knowledge and toolage from just people around me in general. When I was introduced to that, after JUCO, I was ranked number 2 in the state, all Western States Conference player, and committed to Alabama. redshirted, and I transferred to Howard, where I played my last 2 years, and
Yeah.
it was a great experience. From then on, I went to the NFL with the Redskins for 2.5 years. And when I was released, I went up to Seattle with the Seahawks for a short stint, which was like the last 2 weeks of the '08 season. Actually, before that, I got signed by the Stockton Lightning of the AF2.
Yeah, I remember them.
Was released, yep. And I was new to it, didn't, just learning everything as far as physically playing it. But I played there for 8 weeks, led the AF2 for the first 8 weeks as a receiver in yards and touchdowns. And Tri-Cities coach Walker, Cedric Walker,
Oh, yeah.
the head coach. Yeah, he traded his top two DBs for me, and I was literally there for a week to 2 weeks, and I went up to the Seahawks after that, and I was there for the end of the season. And '09 played in the Deuce with the Bossier Shreveport Battle Wings with Coach Norris, Coach Lyles, Coach Stingley. A lot of knowledge. I learned so much from Coach Lyles, PJ Berry, Manuel Talbert, Bucci Ibe. I had, Travis McAllister. I learned a lot from guys, coming up, learning the game. So I had a lot of knowledge and a lot of, on the field access to guys that are greats, in the game that have, left a name behind and learned a lot. And it's helped me become who I am in the AFL.
So, so I don't mean to cut you off, but just want to touch a point on there. Basically, before you came up to the AFL major leagues, at the time they had the development league of the AF2, which AFL had 51% stake in. How do you think, as compared to the way the league is now, which we'll get even to more depth later on, but how important do you think having that AF2 development league there for the couple of years that you played there, and then made the transition going forward into the AFL? How was that coming from the outdoor game?
It was tough. Actually, I walked into the locker room when I signed with Stockton, and a real good friend of mine, he was actually ranked #1 in the state of California in JUCO when I was ranked #2. Hannibal Thomas played University of Cincinnati, played at Pasadena City College, and had a year with the Falcons. I walked in and he saw me. He was like, "Man, what are you doing here?" I was like, I got released. But he told me, he was like, "Man, everything you've been doing outdoors, leave it." And my very first play, I ran a comeback. It's a bench route, comeback route, but I ran it like an outdoor route and went over the wall, catching the ball. And that was how I was introduced to the wall. So
Yeah.
learned quick. I'm known for my speed, so I had to learn when to use my speed. And, I had to learn the game very fast because as soon as I got there, I was, pushed right in the starting role. So it was a great learning experience. The Deuce was a great learning experience, to have to get you ready for the AFL, which that's not available now. So
Yeah.
the transition that you get now is you have to learn quick in camp, in training camp. And not all the teams are in the environment of practicing with walls or, air walls to actually get that experience before you actually step into the arena. So the Deuce was a great learning tool that I benefited from.
Yeah, so you came up from the Deuce and you went out to, and I guess your first taste of the AFL was with the Glads?
The Gladiators for
Yeah.
7.
So how was it playing for Dan Gilbert in front of all the 17,000 screaming fans at the Q?
Oh man, it's great, man. Best fan in the AFL. If you ask me, Cleveland is a diehard sports team, fan base, city. Dan Gilbert, great guy. The whole organization with the Cavs is great. The coaches, Coach Tunn, Coach Zaleski, Coach James was there for 2015, I want to say, for D coordinator. It was just great, man. No complaints about it at all. I was there for 6 years, 2011 to 2016. So it was great. It was great.
So how was it making? I know that I've sort of teased your appearance on this show this week, and on Twitter I got that little footage that when you were playing in Spokane Arena, and that was considered at the time was the Cutters catch of the game. the game-winning catch off the nets. So how do you think a receiver can adapt to catching balls off the net and coming up with the win like that?
Honestly, you can't even practice it. Coach Tun used to always talk about it, and he would always, you couldn't practice it, but he would always tell you, if the ball is going at a certain angle and it hits a certain way, it's going to bounce the opposite way. And we just called it, and Chris dropped back and threw it, and I just watched it the whole way. And Terrence Sanders didn't touch me at all. And I think, I want to say, I'm trying to think who the other corner was. He grabbed Goody and tackled Goody. You can watch it. You can see it in the footage.
Yeah.
They tackled Goody and boxed Colin out, but nobody touched me, and I just followed the ball with my eyes and got my hands on it and just fell away. I just started falling away from everybody.
Yeah, that was back during the good days, of when Cleveland was hyped and all that stuff, and not really experienced to be saying, okay, well, Cleveland's something's twitching, tweaking at Cleveland, and they're going to the right direction. Then which led to 2014 season to go to the best record in the AFL that passed, passed the Dallas Desperados, but it did pass the Desperados 15-1 back in 2007. That's right, because the SaberCats, took over and beat the Columbus Destroyers, who beat the Clint Dozel-led Desperados that year. Yep. So what was your experience? I know I asked Dominic Jones this as being part of that 2014 team. Going into the playoff season, I guess you played the Soul, and then you went and played Orlando. Two great teams of their own. Soul, a division rival at the time. And then the fans expecting, the so-called first championship. How was that experience, and was there any pressure to fulfill that?
Honestly, no pressure. It was, we went into every game, one game at a time. And that was just our motto. It was 1-0. Everybody do your job and just take it one game at a time. And it wasn't a pressure of, be the first team in Cleveland. But I think we kind of set the trend, because after that it was like a domino effect. The Cavs won, and then the hockey team won. But I mean, it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. You make it through 17-1 in 6 games. You win on the last play of the game. That cutter's catch actually made ESPN top 10, number 2. Yeah. The catch I made against Philly at home, we were down 17 with a minute left. That game-winning touchdown made ESPN top 10, number 2. The tip pass in Philly, where Goody caught with me and Romaine going up, and I got a finger on it. Goody caught that. That made ESPN. I believe that was number 3 or 4. 2014 was a great experience. It really showed our character as a team. We were really a true brotherhood, because regardless of what the score was, if we were winning or losing, we battled all the way to the end until, you heard the horn go off. And, we got to the Arena Bowl against Arizona, who, is a well-oiled machine. Coach Guy, those guys have been together for years. And, they've been there. They may have thought it would have, it was just going to be easy. I guarantee it was pretty tough. I heard a couple voices, that, we started off slow. That was the only thing I would say. We started off slow. And starting off slow against a team like Arizona, it kind of put us it put us behind. So trying to catch up was a task, but we've been there before. So we didn't have any kind of quit in our blood at all.
Yeah.
We were fighting to the end. We came up short, of course. But that, that happens. You win, you lose, and you take all the lessons that you learn and you move on to the next.
Yeah, from my experiences when Coach Guy was out here in San Jose coaching underneath our bed, he has that mentality of focus that you want to take the lead from the get-go and just to control your own destiny in the game. And coming back is always tough. And he was a defensive coordinator at that time, so he had that defensive mindset of that particular say. So after that season, unfortunately, you had to do that transition out to the sophomore team out here on the West Coast, known as the LA Kiss, and get some, that tight leather pants and leather vests and start rocking it out, doing the Kiss tongue and all that stuff with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. How was it playing for the Kiss organization and on that the cement and gray field?
It was an experience. I mean, a lot of people in the league know why I actually ended up playing back home in LA. I actually lost my brother at the end of 2014 after the season.
My
So
condolences going
that,
down.
yeah, appreciate it. That was kind of a icebreaker for me to, I felt like I needed to stay home for family, my parents and my brother. Which I mean, sometimes you want to be home, but sometimes home isn't home. In that aspect.
Yeah.
And tried it out. I learned a lot. I learned some things from Coach Salk, Coach McMillan. He's a good coach, good motivator. The whole staff was, the staff was good. The players. It just took a little more time to gel, especially when you have a quarterback. The quarterback went down, and you go through quarterbacks every week. It's kind of tough to try to gel and get chemistry going. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was there for, I want to say, the first 6, 7 weeks, and then I initially got my trade back to Cleveland.
Yeah. I was going to touch base that. How is that going? You go from Cleveland from the Arena Bowl season, then you go out to a sophomore upstart for most of the season in 2015. Then you transition back to Cleveland, finish off the season there, and then 2016 you're there, only to come back to LA Kiss and play them down in San Diego, unfortunately, and then end their hopes of being in the playoffs and continue forward for their first time in the franchise. But then you guys continued forward into the playoffs. How was that season?
Well, 2016 or 15?
Yeah, 2016.
2016. It was good. We started off rough. Due to a quarterback injury. I think we went through like 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the first, I want to say 3, 4 weeks. We had Deeker went down. I want to say after game 1. I think he hurt his knee or something. And then Dennis came in. Havrila.
Yeah.
Played the next, I want to say 2 games. Well, he finished the Philly game, and then he started against Tampa week 2, and that was a great game. I mean, I put up some highlights. I want to say last week of Dennis. With me and Colin and Goody. Dennis was hot. Against Tampa. I actually passed 5,000 yards that game career wise, and it was great. Dennis is a good quarterback. He was learning the system with everybody. But when you go through quarterback, when you go through quarterbacks, and we had Arvell come in, and Arvell caught on after he started getting the chemistry down with everybody and gelling with everybody. It's just tough, tough on both parts. Not physically so much, but the mental aspect, like you're pushing to get on the same level and the same mindset as far as you want to be where the quarterback wants you to be and where he thinks you're going to be. And sometimes, it takes time to do that. That's why you have training camp. So, I mean, it was a learning experience. You know what I mean? Everything isn't going to be perfect, but it was a learning experience. And we pushed on. We made it to the playoffs. We lost to Arizona, down in Arizona. But yeah, 2016 was just a trial. It was a challenge. And we got through it. I mean, we still made it to the playoffs, but we didn't make it to the Arena Bowl. So even when you lose, it still gives you that drive to, pursue and push forward for the next season. You start building off of that. So
yeah. I would say that the fact that you had all that, adjustments to make throughout the regular season, even though technically, that season was the ruling that basically everybody made the playoffs, I think it was. But to do what you did and to come down to San Diego, play in a makeshift home game for the LA Kiss, and then go on to play Arizona with that many adjustments to make with the timing, because the Arena Football League game in general it's a fast game from quarterback and wide receiver perspective to be on the same page and have the timing of each other's progress going throughout the game and adjustments to make throughout the game. And then to also do that with multiple quarterbacks. I've talked to Dennis a few times on social media, and we're probably going to have him on next week for our show.
Okay.
So within the next couple of weeks, also with another former AFL, Christian Wise, who will be coming on too. So we're touching base on some of the players, and they're all saying that, yeah, it's just amazing what you guys go through to just try to keep going forward. I've talked to past receivers like James Hunden I had on in 2016. He lives up here by me in the Bay Area. And he says it's just like going from the outdoor game. He went from, the XFL, the NFL, and then the biggest field, which is the CFL, which is even bigger than both of those fields. And to make adjustments down to the 50-yard, it's just a major adjustment that receivers have to make and be on the same page as their QB is. It's just amazing what you guys could learn in such a small time frame, and to get it down to make it look so natural, like you were there for decades, And it's a great work that you guys do. And I want to say thanks for all that effort that you guys do, especially, playing against one guy that you will never beat. That's the wall, and maybe any kind of railing behind the wall for the fans you're at.
Yeah, the wall is undefeated. Because
I remember a play that James Rowe, from the SaberCats, now offensive coordinator with the Baltimore Brigade. Basically, he did a catch in one of the games in the corner of the end zone, and with the San Jose Arena, there's a lot of extra, room behind the end zone line, the back of the end zone line. But he made a catch at an angle in the curvature of the arena, and he went over and hit his head on one of the side railings. And as soon as that took place, the very next game, the San Jose SaberCats in the arena put padding on those corner end zones, even on the railing, even though it wasn't likely that you would get hit, but they did it anyways.
Yeah.
So, it's just amazing what you guys do. And then the concrete, I always thought there should be, padding on the concrete.
I think they actually, if you watched a few of the games this past season, I think a couple of places had some pads in the corner of the end zones, actually, on the ground. So they're making adjustments also. The league is forming and making adjustments and growing, as well as the style of play. Looking forward to it this year. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, so now this is a bit of a question. I know you and I were going back and forth on social media. I won't give them the details that we were DMing each other on Twitter and IG. But now that we have an official full-fledged of team names, with the Baltimore Brigade, Atlantic City Blackjacks, which was just announced prior to our going on our conversation here. And then we got the Albany Empire, Washington Valor, Philadelphia Soul, and the Columbus Destroyers. Yep. If you were to throw your hat in and be able to just pick out a team that you would want, what organization would you like to go? No matter the location, just organization in general.
Whoever feels like T. Lou can be an asset to the team and help contribute, and whichever one would feel that.
Yeah, I think you'd be a great fit with DJ. Come on, old former teammate DJ. Come on. And going back to the Ohio Seabus.
I'm proud of DJ. He's made a great transition from playing to coaching. He coached while I was there. He was the DB coach and special teams coordinator, and now he's in the front office. Great transition. So yeah, after whenever I finish my years of playing, I look into getting into coaching. But yeah, whatever coach. Organization that feels like T. Lou can be an asset. It feels like I can help contribute to, contend and go for an Arena Bowl.
Yeah, I think you actually be a good fit with Washington because, after all, Arvell is back there at QB, and they won the Arena Bowl, so they'd be defending the Arena Bowl, championship team there in Washington at the Capital One.
Yeah, so great things.
Yeah, this is a call to all AFL teams. My man, T. Lou here, he's definitely available. He's a free agent. He's, from my personal experiences of watching him, of course, on the opposing team when he came to San Jose. Unfortunately, I don't have the budgets to fly out to Cleveland, but when you came to San Jose and you played against the SaberCats, you put up an amazing effort. And, of course, when I saw you play with the Kiss twice, when you came out to L.A., and then I did fly down to L.A. the 2 times the SaberCats played them down there. And, of course, the second time we won the division in your house. But it's just amazing. I saw you down there, and I knew that you were spectacular. Then when I played that teaser catch on Twitter earlier this week to tease that you're coming on to the show, I just brought back and said, yeah, man, I remember T-List. He gave his heart out, man. He didn't do nothing 100%. He did everything 1,000%. Mathematically that's not impossible, but that's how you played. And I thought you were a much dangerous weapon, for any DB to cover. So I just thought that we want to try to reach out, have this conversation, as a way to I know how you are in your communication with the league, because I know you took a couple years off. You played for an indoor league last year in Atlanta,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Havoc.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good, that was a family decision. Me and my wife, well, our son, he'll be one actually next month, April 5th. That was a decision made not to go back to the AFL based off, my wife was getting ready to have our son and
Yeah.
to be closer to home in Jacksonville. So everything works out for a reason. But make sure you get your popcorn ready.
I'm surprised that since your home is in Jax there, in Duval, I'm surprised that the Sharks haven't reached out to you.
Yeah, no, I played with them in 2017, won an NAL championship.
Yeah.
That was an experience. But yeah, no, I'm ready to come back home.
To the AFL where you belong, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's hopefully get out there, man, and let's get you out there, because I'd like to see in number 6, hopefully number 6, whatever team you go on, number 6 will be available if that's the primary number that you'll choose.
Yeah.
So if there was a secondary number, which would that be?
6 is all I really know, but possibly 3 or 5.
Okay, yeah. Because I know I think you use your Twitter handle. This is TLU5.
Yeah. That was like a mistake. That was pushing 6, but ended up pushing 5. But 5 was a number that my brothers and my dad wore, so it
Okay.
fine.
So you could be like the Loonies out here and got 5 on it.
Yeah.
So 5's not a bad number, but yeah, number 6. Let's see number 6 out there wrecking shop in the AFL. As far as for having the name Lewis on the back above the 6.
Yep.
So yeah, we thank you. I want to thank you for coming out, and let's hopefully we could get you back on the field as quickly as possible. I know this is the week of the free agency, so my schedule is kind of all hectic. Reaching out, and I want to try to help players that have good fan base. You've done a lot of community work when you were mainly in Cleveland there, and of course you did a little bit there in LA too, or in Anaheim area, Orange County. So I just want to see you back in the field, and I think good players and good overall people as yourself deserve the opportunities to come with them and to showcase their talents and all that stuff, and especially since you have a pure love for the game, which I could tell through our conversation here.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate you having me again, and I'll see you soon. You'll see the TL celebration real soon.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe you tweak it for 2019 style,
Oh well, I got a few tricks up my sleeve.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out. I know it's it's around 7:30 your time, so it's a little late.
Yeah.
On your end, again, or again to the evening, and you got that youngster out there, about to celebrate the birthday not too long.
Yeah. He's a handful, man. He's whenever I do hang it up, he'll definitely be up next running. So
yeah, you should get a baby jersey, baby T. Lou jersey for him.
Yeah, he's got a couple already.
All right.
Yeah, he's got a couple TJ jerseys already.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Thyron.
Thank you.
I want to thank Thyron Lewis for taking the time out and joining us, and we'll see you soon. We'll hopefully on the field.
All right. See you soon. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. All right.
So there you have it. Once again, I want to thank my special guest this week, Thyron Lewis. He's an AFL free agent wide receiver. So thank you for spending your Thursday evening out with me and joining in on this conversation. I do definitely hope that he does get picked up this year. He's a great receiver. I've had plenty of times to watch him, even though he was with Cleveland and, my team was with the San Jose SaberCats. So he came to San Jose a couple times and played against the SaberCats. And I got a privilege to watch him. And in that one year he was with the Los Angeles Kiss, I was able to watch him twice. I believe it was twice. No, it was once, because I remember that's right. He was only with the team for the first couple of weeks, like the first half of the season. And then he went back to Cleveland, so at the end of the season, I didn't get the chance to watch him play there. But with that said, overall great guy, as you can tell. You probably heard his little one in the background chiming away, too, trying to make her future appearance on TV or on YouTube here in Facebook Watch as you're watching this. Or if you're listening to this on our podcast. So, with that said, that's part of the free agency going. He's available. He's one of the free agents looking to be picked up this season by a team and to make a very strong contribution. I hope him luck. Best of luck, Thyron, and everything without you. And I do that with all the players, too, that are signing this year and this week and into the year to finally get the roster's up to 35. And I think as of tonight, recording this tonight, that I believe Philly and Albany are pretty much already tapped out on their roster space for 35. And so we'll see what happens. So there's still other teams. You still got Columbus. You still got Atlantic City AFL. I'm not going yet. And you still got Baltimore. Baltimore has actually been really, really quiet. I had not heard any kind of transactions at all with Baltimore until basically yesterday when they finally emailed out something that they picked up a few players, and some of those players are returning players who wouldn't want to return to Baltimore to be more after last year's appearance in the Arena Bowl. They actually hosted the Arena Bowl. So we'll see. As of the recording of this episode, there's been no announcements on who is the quarterback for Baltimore. As I recall, there's no mention of it. So last year was Randall Hipyard, who led the team to the Arena Bowl, but hasn't decided. So who knows who will be picked up in free agency? It could be. I know a good quarterback that's still out there. There's a couple of good quarterbacks right off the top of my head that are still available. One, I don't know if he's still actually partaking into the Arena Football League, but he was there. He played with the SaberCats a couple of seasons, and he also got a chance to start as a starting quarterback when he went down to L.A. And he played for the L.A. Kids. That's Nathan Stanley, a great quarterback. He has one strong arm. He has experience in this league. So who knows? Pardon my text messages going off if you heard that little chiming noise. I forgot to silence that during recording here. But anyways, so with that said, now let's and the second guy is Dennis Havria, another Cleveland Gladiator guy who I'm probably will work on to get him on the show as well. So I'm not trying to favor Cleveland or anything, but it just happens to be that way. Dominic Jones, Thyron Lewis, Dennis Havria coming on shortly, so who knows? So there's other great mentions out there. So we'll see what happens in the free agency. I just don't like to say anything settled yet because it hasn't settled. Other teams have up to 35 roster spots to fill, and then once they get filled out, they'll have to make the cut down shortly after to the final roster list of 24 players on the team, active roster. So now let's go ahead and, like I said, I want to try to keep this show to roughly around 40 minutes. So I need to hurry up and just finish up the show because I know at this point we're getting close to the 40-minute mark. I want to say that we want to officially welcome the Atlantic City Blackjacks. Yes, you heard me. Blackjacks, named after the card game. And their logo is basically just, I'll actually put it up here, is just basically like the head. If you look at the Jacks, whatever suit, doesn't matter what suit, because they're all basically the same minus the coloring and the suit. But if you look at the Jacks head's profile, that's basically what it is. It's just a little bit more modernized, and it's basically, of course, to the team colors. Red, black, and gold are the team colors. So the Atlantic City Blackjacks is the new team for your Atlantic City Ninth Man. They'll be playing at the Gene Whelan Boardwalk Hall. So we hopefully they'll get there. First week of their existence, they'll actually be playing around an hour north to Philadelphia. So hopefully we'll see a lot of Atlantic City colors and stuff at the Wells Fargo Center and see that good rivalry get off to a good start this season. So that's what you have. Atlantic City, their quarterback is going to be Warren Smith. Last couple of years, he actually was the backup quarterback at the Washington Valor. He's gotten some starting times when last year Washington was an array of quarterbacks, so who knows what's going to happen. The main starting quarterback was Nick Davila. Hall of Fame lesson. If the league decides to bring back the Hall of Fame, it'll be greatly acknowledged and to bring back and to try to keep some integrity of this league, of what's going down with this league as far as for rule changes and not being the sole characteristics. That's one part I'll get into probably next week's video, is to do a little bit more of a rant on my personal opinion on all these rule changes just to try to speed up the game. So if there's going to be less game time out on the field, we're paying for, as fans, paying for tickets that usually the game runs around 3 hours. That's a side rant, but for my 15 years of following the league as a fan and a season ticket holder with the SaberCats front row and everything, and then I helped out with and ran the fan club for 10 years, the last 10 years of the SaberCats' existence. So now I'm trying to do my due diligence and trying to keep this league going, keep the fans interested, keep conversations. That's why when I have guests on, they're more. Our conversations are more story oriented, with background and how people discover this league, how they get involved in this league. So I don't try to shoot for the numbers, because that numbers, stats, records, and all that stuff, that's all great, but that's more boring. People want to hear more of the story and get people interested. I think it brings more of a human characteristic to the game and more personal touch. And that's what the Arena Football League is about. It's about reaching out to the community, being a family here, the Arena Family League, as a lot of us like to call it for the AFL initials. But yeah, that's it. The main thing was the Atlantic City Blackjacks officially announced. Their website is acblackjacks.com. It is up and running. They do have some information on there. You can get the contact. I do have their team information on ninthmannation.net and team with their team schedule. It will have their results once it's there, listed out on their team page, and as well as their home game attendance. So actually, I'll have both attendance of their home games and the road games they're at listed on their schedule. And then below their schedule, I have their 2019 roster, which is still being built. They're one of the last boys to the party of the free agency. Washington Valor have some players. They've been kind of quiet with their players announcings and movings, but they've made some. So that's about it. Atlantic City Blackjacks, welcome. And of course, we can't forget the Columbus Destroyers. If you probably heard my conversation or watched my conversation, depending how you absorb this show, or not absorb, but consume the show, that with Dominic Jones, I basically was hinting that it was going to be the Destroyers. I already knew that the Columbus Destroyers name was registered at the United States Patent and Trade Office back on January 4th of this year, so by the league. So you would think that they wouldn't go register a name and not utilize it. So, and it's a great brand, and it brings back history of this league for future expansions. Like they already say to have at least 8 teams next year, and one of those teams is supposed to be the Cleveland Gladiators returning. So that'll be a return of a team, but not really a truly expansion team. But they would have to start from ground up as if they were an expansion team. So Cleveland Gladiators, and if they bring back other teams, say like Pittsburgh, like the Pittsburgh Power, since the Gladiators name is obviously already taken from the original Pittsburgh Gladiators when the league started. So that would be a great name. I want to touch base with some of the expansion cities if they're going, as far as for corridors for traveling and regional and trying to set up rivalries like they have with Albany, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, and then they touch base just outside of Philadelphia with Atlantic City. So that sort of finishes up that corridor area, per se. The Albany one's a little bit out of the reach. You would think that they could probably maybe get one in Boston or something that general to finish with Albany, but I think that general corridor is done. Now, if we travel to now, they're expanding a little bit west where they're hitting the Ohio Valley and the Midwest, still staying in the Eastern time zone, but still in the Midwest. You would think that they have Columbus, so you have Cleveland, which is roughly around 2 to 2.5 hour drive, depending on traffic, north. So, and then you have Pittsburgh, which could come in. They have and bring back the Pittsburgh Power name. That would be a great location because Pittsburgh Power is basically roughly around 2 to 2.5 hours east, a little bit southeast of Cleveland. So it's in that kind of, corridor picture frame. And then also you could bring back, like I heard that Detroit was supposed to, it's been rumored, and I've been saying this over, that Detroit was supposed to be coming into the league and play their game at the brand new Little Caesars Arena. The league has been in talks with them for the last couple of years. The management company that manages the arena and does all the scheduling, whether it be the Detroit Red Wings hockey games or whether it be the Detroit Pistons basketball games, and any other events that take place at the arena. They said they wanted to wait and hold off for at least 2 years to get things settled, to see how management of the time is going to be before adding a third tenant. So, well, this is ending up the 2 years at the end of this year. So 2020 was the target to possibly add that third tenant. And they were looking into joining the Arena Football League. They had a very strong interest in bringing a team there. So question would be, which team would you bring back? Would you, or if you're going to go back to history like the way you did with the Destroyers, they didn't do it with Washington when they brought Washington and they went all out on Valor. And Baltimore, they went all out. They brought Brigade, which was the Kansas City Brigade, back, but different locations. So they bought Baltimore Brigade since, the Maryland team was the Maryland Commandos. And then they went down to Washington, became the Washington Commandos. So, but the Commandos name wasn't taken up in that general region of DMV. But with Detroit Drive, Detroit Fury is the question of if they bring back any of those names. And then you could go up a little bit northeast or northwest, if you look at it, to Grand Rapids and bring back the Grand Rapids Rampage. But I heard that Grand Rapids Rampage was being launched as an outdoor team or something. The name was taken or whatever. Excuse me. So, but I could see that back and as being the regional quarter with the Columbus and Cleveland as the main two stays to match up with quarter regions. Some of the people that are more localized to that region would say that who would you bring back? You could bring Cincinnati back. Cincinnati had a team back in the early days. I think it was in the early 90s or late 80s. They had the Cincinnati Rockers. I think that the team name was the Cincinnati Rockers. So I don't know if Cincinnati has a facility where the Cincinnati Bearcats play. I don't know if their facility can sport an arena football. I don't know if it can transform into like a hockey configuration or not. So Cincinnati could be a good play, and then you have 3 teams in Ohio. But Cincinnati could get the Kentucky area involved, and then you have Louisville itself, which does the KFC arena, which is a newer arena, and from my looking at it, it could handle. And it was actually speculated that Louisville would be joining this season. But I guess things didn't transpire to any kind of agreements or the timings of things didn't work out for them, for the league and the location. So that's my general region I can see as far as for markets and the so-called regional corridors that the teams would be involved. If you go down south to maybe the southeast, bring back the Tampa Bay Storm, the Orlando Predators. And then you could bring back, if you want to put a team back down in Miami. Miami had 2 teams, the Miami Vice and the Miami Hooters. Yeah, I know, Miami Hooters. But they did have a team there, and then I guess the Miami Hooters, after a couple of years, moved up a little bit north and became the Florida Bobcats. So I think they played in Sunrise, Florida, or something like that. But anyways, the main state in Florida, I would say, bring back the Tampa Bay Storm and Orlando Predators. History in the league, war on I-4 corridor, so that would bring back a great rivalry. It was like the East Coast version of the best rivalry on the East Coast, and of course on the West Coast was San Jose, Arizona. But we don't see that happening anytime soon as far as for San Jose, Arizona getting back at it. And then I would go with, as far as for a Southeast quarter with Tampa Bay and Orlando, I would bring back a team to Atlanta, bring back the Georgia Force. And then go a little bit north in Carolinas, bring back the Carolina Rage or the Charlotte Rage if you want to do that. The Charlotte Rage or the Carolina Cobras. But I know there's a team called the Carolina Cobras playing in a smaller indoor football league. There's an indoor team called the Carolina Cobras. I think they're playing in Greensboro Coliseum or something like that. So, but yeah, bring back that corridor, and then you can move, say, a little bit more west in the south and bring back, say like the New Orleans Voodoo. You could bring back the Houston Thunder Bears, Texas Terror, were the basically the same team. They just rebranded. The Dallas Desperados / Dallas Vigilantes. That's a kind of catch to where Desperados was a strong name because it's owned by King of Dallas or Arlington area, and that's Jerry Jones. But bring back the San Antonio Talons. Those are great teams. There's been remodeled to the AT&T Center, so I'm thinking the AT&T Center now can fit in a full-fledged arena football field on there. Before they had to go and play at the Alamo Dome, and that just wasn't the place to play arena football. And any kind of, you go into a major football stadium and then try to convert it into an arena football field, it's not going to work. We want genuine sports arenas. That's why it's called arena, not stadium football. But yeah, so Dallas Desperados / Vigilante, if you want to bring those teams back in the Dallas area, or Fort Worth. Fort Worth had their team too. So San Antonio, Houston. So bring back that, or you could bring back the Austin Wranglers. So that would be that general area if you see how the corridor region works. And then you could go up a little bit northwest to them. You could bring back, say, like the Kansas City team. They could play in the Sprint Center there. The Kansas City Command or Kansas City Brigade. Well, can't use the Brigade, so it'll have to be Command name. The Command name doesn't really have too much of a distinction or history with Kansas City because they were only there for 2 years when they came back, and they were actually coming back as the Brigade, but then rebranded themselves to Command, which I thought was not good. They just not good to rebrand when you're trying to reestablish your team coming back when you're originally the Brigade, and there was nothing wrong with the Brigade name. But yeah, Kansas City market could be doing it. St. Louis could bring back the St. Louis team. They could play there. And then you could go a little bit more west and bring back Colorado, bring back the Colorado Crush. I know a lot of people wouldn't mind the Denver Dynamite to come back and just modernize the logo. But Colorado Crush was a strong name, and they were a strong team. They had a great draw there in Denver. And if you just bring back the regionals, so that's basically how you would do it. And I think that's how it would work best for the league. That's just my thoughts. I will go more in depth on this next week as one of my shows. But yeah, I've actually already expanded this too long. So let me go ahead and end the show. Once again, my guest, Thyron Lewis, thanks for coming on. And we want to get more summary of the free agency. Head over to ninthmannation.net. And you'll see all the team rosters there on their team individual pages. Just under teams, just click your team, and you'll have their information there. And then the new team, like I said, Atlantic City Blackjacks. So it's up to now Atlantic City's ninth man to do your due diligence and get your season tickets or individual tickets, group tickets, whatever. Just go to the game, and let's see the Boardwalk Hall filled to capacity with over 10,000 people there. All right. Thanks again for watching this week's episode of Inside the Nation. I'm your host, Eric Thurow, and I'll see you next week. Take care.